Anthony Scaramucci, always a pleasure to have you on Real Vision, founder and managing partner at Skybridge Capital. Welcome back to the show.
It is a pleasure to be here, Ash. Thanks for having me. And thank you for coming to our conference last month.
Talking of which, Anthony, so much to talk about today. So curious to get your key takeaways about what's happening in the digital asset space, blockchain, crypto, as well as the traditional side, macro capital markets. Give us a sense of what your key takeaways were this year.
I would say, because I think about this a lot, and I just had the opportunity to watch all 65 panels. Unfortunately, when I'm at the conference, Ash, I'm like the cadaver at the wake, but I'm also the bride at the wedding. So it's a difficult for me to watch everything. But after digesting everything, I would say my three takeaways are: the hedge fund managers are moving. They've decided that they're no longer machetes, but they're Swiss Army knives, and they need to adapt to the new world, and they need to get involved in the blockchain, and they get it in programmable biology and other fast-growing areas of the society that they wouldn't traditionally be in. And so the smarter ones are moving. More and more of them are going to look like Tiger Global, which is that hybrid model. Second thing I would say, that if you sat in on our blockchain presentations and you had some of the smartest people in the world discussing it, whether it was Sam Bankman-Fried or Wences Casares or Pete Brigger, I could name everybody, Kathy Wood from ARK Asset Management, I think they would let you know that the Luddites, which would include people like Jamie Dimon and Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, have totally got this wrong. And they need to you need to be a part of the blockchain. And I would say to your listeners and viewers that to really understand it is to see it as a delayering mechanism for our society and for our economy. And so that all of the middlemen that we've traditionally had for 5,000 plus years, you can start to delayer them, and you and I can actually transact with each other. And we don't necessarily have to know each other or trust each other. But we have this formidable software technology known as the blockchain, where we can get those things done. And I think that will be transformative to the society in ways that people don't fully understand yet. And so that was another key takeaway. My last takeaway is that we've got to avoid killing each other. Okay, so that's either through a war. We got to not fight over the island of Taiwan. We've got to try to figure out a way to slow down the ecological destruction of the planet. And if we can find a way not to kill each other, well, we're probably going to live a lot longer and a lot healthier than we originally thought growing up. And certainly to the great surprise of our grandparents, I think we're just going to have longer, happier, healthier lives. Those are my takeaways. Other than the fact that, thank God nobody got sick. I was also worried about that, Ash. I think we had a really good environment. And Dr. Scott Gottlieb said that it was, we used all the right safety protocols for this current pandemic that we're in. So thank God for that.
Yeah, Anthony, it's absolutely fascinating. Let's walk through those takeaways one at a time, because I actually came away with some similar conclusions. The fascinating thing to me about SALT was your first point, seeing hedge fund managers hanging out, talking to these young 20-something-year-old kids in T-shirts. It was like a kind of a culture, sort of reunion. Like you saw these groups of people who don't historically talk to each other having that conversation. Tell us about what you thought when you saw these groups. And it was obviously very much something that you guys had in mind, because you had obviously all of the traditional hedge fund managers there, but you also had these young guys and gals who were developing software, creating protocols, building open source. It was really just a fascinating thing to see.
Well, listen, I appreciate that, because we spent a lot of time on the editorial construction of those events, and it's reminiscent to me of what a good producer would say about a television show. The Meet the Press is the oldest running show in the United States now. It got started in 1947. So you've got 74 years in. And why can it stay like that? Saturday Night Live is an example of that. The Tonight Show, is because you can embrace what's going on in the world and you can reflect it back through your programming. And so I have really tried to spend a lot of time listening to different people in our industry, but then also saying, okay, what are the people in our industry missing? And so I don't know if you sat in on the guys in programmable biology, but they've basically have now figured out a way to use enzymes and plant-based protein and convert them into whey-based protein without all the carbon emission necessary to create cows. And when you stop and think about that, if they're successful in doing this sort of programmable biology, you'll cut carbon emissions on the planet in the next 5 years by about 31%. And then the planet itself can start to heal. And so do my old fart hedge fund managers, and again, I would put myself in the category of an old fart at this point, know that? No, they do not know that. So putting that stuff on the program forces them at least to have some of their people or themselves see that. Secondarily, we're talking about with the blockchain, just imagine guys in my industry that have made a ton of money. They've done it traditionally. They've arbitraged bonds. They were in the convertible bond space. They were in, the long short equity space, or maybe they bought into the private equity phenomenon related to fintech, but they don't really have any understanding of what's going on the blockchain. And they're sitting there. Mark Lazary, he took a pile of these books. I said, what are you too cheap to buy these books? By the way, no one's ever bought one of my books, Ash. Okay, they're all international bestsellers. If you don't believe me, come into my basement. I'll show you every copy that I had to buy to make it an international bestseller. But he was taking them out of the office. I was like, okay, this is a great sign that we're onto something, that we're showing people, or we're giving people the opportunity to learn something that they would not have learned on their own. And that is the whole genesis of the ideas behind the editorial content of SALT.
It's almost as if it's the meeting of this sort of traditional financial world. You and I, Anthony, have both been to a lot of financial conferences, but the blending in with science, technology, engineering, and now increasingly blockchain and digital assets.
Yeah, I mean, and again, here's the thing, Ash. We could be 5 years from now, we'll be talking about something totally different. We may be talking about space colonization in 5 years. We may be talking about, I don't know if you saw the Michio Kaku lunch, but he was asked about these unexplained aerial phenomenons that we're looking at, these UAFs, or as you and I used to call them in the old-fashioned days, UFOs. And who knows what we'll be talking about in 5 years, and so this is a exciting time for everybody. Flip side is that there's some FOMO going on. Somebody doesn't understand the blockchain or hasn't spent time to look at the properties of something like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum, or understand the NFT market. Man, I'll tell you, they're going to miss a lot. So I'm hoping to put that in people's faces and give them the opportunity at least to learn about it. I always tell people, listen, you don't have to invest in it. I get that, but you have to learn about it. One of the people, I've never met him, but I have such admiration and respect, is Charlie Munger. He's 97 years old. He's written Poor Charlie's Almanac, among other things. He's a brilliant person. He's obviously been Warren Buffett's sidekick for 60 years. For him to call it the worst thing that's happened to the civilization is a sign that he hasn't done the homework. And I know that if he did the homework, he would feel very differently about it. Ray Dalio didn't like Bitcoin or the blockchain, did the homework, bought some. Paul Tudor Jones, Stan Druckenmiller. I can give you a list of people. Dan Loeb, Steve Cohen. I started out as a skeptic. I'm not a Bitcoin evangelist. I'm not a blockchain evangelist. I'm a blockchain understander and investor. I don't think Jesus and Moses got together and made a baby and they named the baby Bitcoin. I mean, that's not me. I'm a guy that just believes that this is going to move and advance the world forward. And once you understand that, you've got to be a part of it.
Hey, if you like this clip, be sure to check out the full interview and more only on realvision.com/crypto. It's 100% free. Sign up now.